Hello, everyone. Welcome to your Tuesday. Thank you for joining us and learning about ways that Parker Dewey, our micro-internship program, can help support connecting your business with talent here at Knox College. I am Tiffany Springer, the Associate Director of Career Exploration and External Relations at the Bastion Family Career Center here at Knox College. And our main goal is to support students the best way possible in connecting them with high impact practices, of course, through micro internships and other immersive learning opportunities, and just provide a holistic approach at that career building mentality for our students. We cannot do it without the work of our partners, you. And so thank you for joining us today or taking an interest. I am going to turn it over to Kristen Schrader with Parker Dewey, who's going to fill us in more on the ins and outs of really how to gain the most out of our Parker Dewey relationship. And if you have any questions afterwards, please don't hesitate to connect with me. I'm going to put my email and contact information in the chat. So please, my door is always open. And Kristen, thank you so much and the Parker Dewey team for being a great partner to us and sharing your time with us today to just move us into this micro internship era.
Thank you, Tiffany. Wonderful introduction, and welcome to everyone who's joining us live, or if you're listening to the recorder, thank you so much for just your interest in learning a little bit more about what micro-internships are. Just to give you a little bit of a roadmap, if you've never heard of micro-internships, you're in the right place. But if you do have some level of familiarity, love to answer any questions that you might have in the chat. So feel free to pop those in real time. I'll do my best to answer them as close to real time as I can. But just to, without any further ado, I want to share a little bit about what Parker Dewey is. That's the organization that I represent. My role in the team is leading the partnerships team, which essentially means I get to interface with Tiffany and all of our other hundreds of academic partners across both the state of Illinois and then nationwide. These are colleges and universities who, like Tiffany, are really excited to support students and help them launch their careers, as well as to support organizations like yours in helping you find the next great hire for your team. Now, here at Parker Dewey, I get to sit at the intersection of that, supporting both schools, students, and employers like yours, and to be able to work together and partner with you. So really appreciate this opportunity, Tiffany, and you sharing your time and inviting us to talk with your organizations today. Now, to give you a bit of a roadmap of what we're going to talk about today, I want to start off by sharing just a little bit about Parker Dewey and how we work with students, schools, and so on. And then we'll dig into how you can use micro-internships. And again, if you don't know what that is, we'll get there in a second. But how you can use this as a really great way to engage the next generation of talent at your organization. If you're particularly interested in building and deepening your relationship with Knox students, stay tuned because we'll talk about that as well. So first and foremost, how does Parker Dewey help organizations like yours? Well, at the core, we are a recruiting tool helping organizations, big, small, and everything in between, access, engage, assess, and ultimately hire early career talent. Now, early career talent, what does that mean? Well, that is our euphemism for saying students, recent grads. These might be folks who have transitioned to a different career and are very early in their experience, but excited to put to work what they've been learning in their academic programs to connect with organizations like yours. Now, our method of doing this is by allowing you and the student to easily work together on a short-term paid professional assignment, which we call a micro-internship. Now, we coined the phrase, came up with it about 10 years ago. We're also super excited to be talking to y'all in particular, as we are a Chicago-based company that, again, founded the concept with the whole goal of being to try to de-risk the hiring process and to be able to help you engage students that you may otherwise have missed at scale. Now, these micro interns are an eclectic mix of folks juggling school and, in many cases, work, extracurriculars, and lots of other demands for their time. But this allows you to see these students in action, to be able to give you that real world opportunity to be able to engage in a real project that allows you to see their skills, both technical and core or soft skills, in action. Something that is difficult to glean from a resume or interview, you can actually see them because you're working together on these projects. Now, my career started in human resources. So having actually been in your role of hiring early career folks, can definitely attest from firsthand experience, it's hard. It's really hard, particularly when students are so early in their academic program, and sometimes it looks kind of the same, limited experiences and so on. And what we find with traditional recruiting is it's very expensive, and it can often lead to outcomes that are just not good for the bottom line. Now, in my role, I talk to companies all the time who are sharing various challenges around their early career recruiting. For what students are telling us is that, they're not able to really show what they can bring to your organization via traditional recruiting means. Resumes, they only allow you to say so much, particularly when you're limited to a page and they're not as experienced as somebody who's been in the field for a while. And then many of these students are juggling lots of different things and are not necessarily as able to articulate what they could bring to your organization because, again, they don't have a ton of professional experience in many cases. Now, for you, that means that turnover for early career hires is really high, as evidenced by 35 to 45% turnover in the first year, which again is data that we see from the National Association of Colleges and Employers. We're also seeing that the cost per hire is really high, upwards of $6,000 per hire. And again, a lot of turnover for those early career hires as well. What our goal and mission is to help reduce those numbers, to make it less expensive for you to recruit early career talent, and to increase the longevity of these students so that when they join your organization, they do with the eyes open even more to know that they are making a decision that is a good fit for them and that you are making a decision that's a good fit for you. Now, no matter where you are in your hiring pipeline, micro-internships can seamlessly plug in depending on your goals. So for example, I spoke to a company just a couple of weeks ago, very well-known tech organization that said, you know what, we don't have a hard time getting the IT students to get excited about our company given what we do, but we still need students in those other functional business areas. And quite frankly, when we go to career fairs, that's not who's showing up to our table because we don't get marketing students or HR students or operations students or whatever, because that's just not what our household name and brand stands for. But these micro-internships are a very effective way to engage those students because they're excited to work with you on that project. And by working together, you can build your brand. You can open students' minds about the opportunities that exist in their organization that they just may not have been aware of. And through working together, you're able to see their skills. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But through that real world authentic engagement, again, you can see where there's technical strengths and maybe some opportunities to improve on potentially some soft skills. Micro-internships are also a really great way to keep students engaged so that if you have, say, an early career pipeline that gets filled and you're doing all of your hiring in the fall, great. But there's a lot of time between making that full-time job offer or internship offer in October or November and having the students stay excited about joining your organization all the way to the next summer. Micro-internships can be a very effective way to keep them excited working with you on additional projects while they wrap up their school year. And then lastly, it's helpful for those on-demand things that come up. Maybe that person, if you work in HR, the hiring manager who just walked into your office saying, gosh, we didn't recruit for an intern in this, but I need some help in that area. This again gives you that on-demand pipeline of students who have proactively raised their hand to say that they want to work with your company on these different projects. So let's dig into what these projects are, and then we'll talk to you about how all of those different things and how it all works. So micro-internships by definition, how we define them as a short-term, paid, professional project completed on demand by highly motivated early career talent. Now let me unpack that because there's a lot of really key things in that definition. First of all, these are designed to be project-based experiences. Now, we regularly see companies who have posted a full-time job or an internship. Maybe they copied and pasted directly from what they have posted elsewhere onto Parker Dewey. Now, if you try to do that, you're going to get a nice friendly message from a member of our team saying, that's not what this is, because this is not for your full-time jobs or internships. These are designed to be bite-sized projects focused on around just a single deliverable. Now, generally, these projects take between 10 and 40 hours in total for the student to complete. So they're very short term, and they're posted on demand year-round. So if you do have that busy hiring manager who just knocked on your door saying, where's my intern? And you say, we're not recruited for one, they are still can be accommodated through micro-internships. The types of projects are very similar to what a student would do in an internship, but it's something that's flexible so it can be posted year-round. We hear from nonprofits and small businesses regularly that they might say, I don't have the bandwidth or the budget to support a full-time intern. No problem. Micro-internships allow you to still have that flexible way to engage Knox talent without having to have the supervisory capacity to be able to support them for an entire summer. Or I remember speaking to a nonprofit who said, I love summer interns, but our busy season isn't in the summer. It's when students are in session and in the fall in their case. And this again gives you that flexible way based on the projects that you post to be able to engage students year round. Now, we also want to make this very easy for you and for the student. And our biggest method of doing that is they are on our books. We handle the payment to the student. We handle all of the administration of these projects. And so payroll, legal, HR, I don't have to worry about any of that. We take care of that. The students are paid a fixed amount that you set when you post the project. Now, we recommend budgeting around $20 per estimated hour of work, but the students aren't turning in timesheets. They're paid the full amount upon completion of the project. And again, we handle that payment. And so for companies who are looking to use this for a specific hiring goal, our suggestion and the way that conversation starts is to think about that open role that you're trying to fill. What's that entry-level job that you need somebody who's just graduated from college or maybe an internship? Send us that job description and we will help you unpack it and identify specific projects that can help you identify what are the core skills or how do you see if a student has those core skills that you're looking for. So for example, if your role is for an entry-level data marketer, the job description might involve assisting in gathering, analyzing, and reporting marketing data. Great. So we will help you identify a project such as data cleanup and visualization, which in addition to getting some really pretty infographic, you also will be able to assess a student's attention to detail, ability to pull together an aesthetically pleasing final deliverable, being able to understand that they do high quality work, and also be able to assess a lot of core skills that we all are looking for, no matter the role we're hiring for. If you look at these 12 things that are assessed on these 12 attributes on the slide, I find it hard pressed to find anyone who's recruiting for any role that doesn't want these things. Every single job that we all would in hiring our future coworkers, we all want self-starters, folks who have attention to detail, folks who are interested in your organization, etc. These are things that are core to any role, but that a micro-internship can help you discern before you make that long-term commitment of bringing them on for an internship or full-time role. For example, by simply applying to that project, you'll be able to know for sure that the student is a self-starter. Nobody is forcing them to apply to your micro-internship. You know that they're genuinely interested in your organization because they're excited about that project. You can see their attention to detail by seeing how they've answered your short answer application questions. And then by working together on the project, you're able to assess a bunch of different core skills, such as communications. Do they professionally interact with you? Or do they have a lot of typos or maybe are a little too casual or unprofessional in their interactions? How about when you gave them feedback on the project itself? Did they take the feedback? Did they get defensive? Did they implement your changes and your recommendations? How about turning the work in on time? Was it on time? Was it delayed? Again, we all need somebody who can get things done by a specific deadline, and those micro-internships can help them showcase that they have that skill. And of course, the work product itself allows you to glean all sorts of different intangible and tangible things, such as, did the student put forth a comprehensive, defined deliverable that really solved that business problem that you gave to them? Did it, when you gave them feedback, did they put in some thought and creativity? Did they put some individual intellectual curiosity, or did they just go to ChatGPT and just do everything that way? So again, this really helps you to assess some of those different things. And we find that for students, this is how they want to work with you. This is how they want to be recruited. We survey students every single year, asking them point blank, how do you want to be recruited by employers? And what they told us is that they start thinking about career paths very early in their academic program. Most of them are thinking about it their first couple of years on campus. But they're also telling us that the traditional methods of engaging them fall short of being able to have them show you what they can bring to your company. 71% said that career fairs, resumes, interviews, they're not going to show you everything I can do. And this allows them to do so. And then we also flat out, when we asked them, how do you want to be recruited? 95% have said that they want to engage via these short-term real-world projects. But this also works for employers like yours, because through the singular Parker Dewey platform, you can engage students at thousands of academic institutions nationwide. So we really want and hope that you'll be able to work with Knox students and find your next great hire by working with Tiffany and her team to be able to post these really amazing projects. But maybe you have locations elsewhere. Maybe you're interested in helping support, building relationships to support offices across the country. This is one method where you can engage students both near and far, depending on your goals. We also see that the students do a phenomenal job, as evidenced by the fact that 97% of the students who completed micro-internships received a met or exceeded expectations evaluation from their project supervisors. And this all pulls together into some really powerful recruitment data that if you work in HR or in college recruiting, you can really measure the impact and the scale when you're doing micro-internships, at scale. So for example, you'll see those maps in the screenshot. What does that mean? Well, we have companies who have posted micro-internships engaging students nationwide, and their physical location might be wherever they go to school, but maybe they have geographic ties to schools or to locations outside of where the school is located. This might be able to help you engage a Knox student, but also support your San Francisco office. If you're having a Knox student do a project that the student might be from the Bay Area, just to give you an example. You're also able to see the feedback that the companies, your hiring managers, have given to the students to be able to see, wow, these are the real rock stars, so that you can bring them in for your other open early career roles, internships, and so on. Now, the way to do this, there's a bunch of different options. First of all, you can post a single project for what that one-time ad hoc need. You set the project, the budget, and that particular project can be opened just for Knox students, or you can leave it open and filter based on a target school like Knox or other institutions. We also offer a few other options, such as a free trial, which does have limited schools, but allows you to test drive this at no cost, as well as a paid pilot, where you can pick whatever schools you'd like and be able to work with students and have access to that recruiting data. So just to give you a little bit more about that pilot program, again, love to see you work with a Knox College student on this, where you can, for $5,000, engage up to 10 Knox College students on these different micro-internships and have access to all of that recruiting data via the Parker Dewey Plus Employer Intelligence platform. So a lot of other really great KPIs depending on your recruitment goals. And so happy and certainly can walk you through what that would look like and how that would benefit your organization. But I'm going to take a quick breath, make sure that I haven't missed any questions in the chat, and see if there's anything that's top of mind for anyone who's attending the session live. Tiffany, have I missed anything so far? I think you're on mute, Tiffany. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was looking at my chat.
No
Um,
worries.
no, you have been doing a great job, Kristen, and I have been looking at the chat and I don't see any questions coming in, but I encourage our attendees to ask questions if they have them.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to go ahead and I put the link to the bottom example or bottom QR code in case that's helpful. The best way to get started, particularly if you're looking at engaging with micro internships at scale, is to have a conversation. So understanding is what we'd love to do is understand, okay, is it a role that you're trying to fill? Is it that you're trying to reach specific populations of students at Knox or elsewhere? Love to understand some of those goals. And then we can just talk about how this might be able to be helpful for you in achieving those goals. But I also want to spend a moment just sharing how you can get started on any project that's top of mind. So I do want to touch on that real quick. So 3 easy steps to posting your first micro internship. First of all, think about those tasks that there's just not enough hours in the day for, that are lingering on the to-do list. That's a great starting point to identify your first micro internship project. Now we do have a bunch of project templates that can help you get started, but once you've posted that project, pick the student that you want to work with, and then the work gets done. So it's as simple as 3 quick and easy steps. Now, those micro internship projects, the first thing you need to do is to identify what it is that you need done. So what I'm going to do is actually go back and show you a project library where, depending on what functional area you work in within your organization, there's a few different examples. So maybe you are in the healthcare industry, but your role is in operations. And again, these are just quick examples. So you can certainly look through this at your leisure. I'll put the link to this particular website in the chat. But maybe you are in an operations setting, and maybe you need to have a project around grant writing because there's an opportunity for your nonprofit or your small business. You're looking for additional funding sources or something like that. We'll start with that as a quick example. So you can click on this View Template. And that project, once you've created a Parker Dewey account, which doesn't cost you anything to do, that project pre-populates. Now you can go in and customize this however you want. So for instance, maybe the start date of next week is a little too soon. No problem. You can push it back to after Memorial Day if you'd like. Or maybe, no, gosh, I would really love to work with somebody by the end of this week. Again, no problem. And same thing with the end date. Customize it as you need it. Similarly, you can adjust the deliverables. So if you have 5 grants that you're trying to have the student research, no problem. Maybe you've already identified the grants you need to help with the first write-up. Again, you can adjust this as needed. Put in your location, as that will help both you and the student. Go ahead and understand time zones and other logistics. Now, most micro-internships are remote opportunities, and whenever possible, we do recommend that you post this as a remote project. However, if it does need to be on site, you can toggle this accordingly. Now, whenever possible, again, we do recommend remote. It does make it easier, both for you. You don't have to figure out building access, where is the student going to sit, coordinating time, locations, and other logistics, but it also makes it more accessible to more students. So that if a student doesn't have transportation to get to your office, you don't have to worry about that. You can reach a much broader array of students. Now, the next section is where you can set your budget for this particular project. Now, we do, as I mentioned before, recommend around $20 per estimated hour of work. And most grant writing projects that we see is 20 hours is a good budget for, or to me, a good approximation for how long it might take a student to complete that project. Now, you can adjust this as you like, but the amount that you pay is 10% above that, which covers our costs of administering the project, the payroll and other logistical expenses just around having the student on our books. But that $444 and some change, $400 of that goes to the student upon completion. We pay that, you don't. Keep in mind as well that you won't be charged anything until you select a student. So if you want to post a project and then get a sense of the interest level and an applicant pool, great, you can do so. And you don't have to worry about paying anything to Parker Dewey until you say, I want to work with 1 student, or if you want to work with 2, 3, 4, whatever, you can adjust this as you wish. Also know that there are no costs if you want to hire the student long-term. We want that to happen. We want this to be the next great member or a great way for you to find the next member of your team, and we don't want to get in the way of that. And so please feel free, post, and we'll hopefully hire these students long-term, assuming that it's a great fit for you both. The next section is the skills section where you can identify if there's specific skills required to execute the project. This might be, we need students to be familiar with a specific web development platform. Maybe you need them to have a background in a specific data science tool, something like that. And then finally, you can highlight what schools you'd like this project to be available for, which would include, of course, Knox College. That's how to make this just available for Knox students. Definitely recommend you can do that if you wish to make it just for Knox students. Or if you want to add other schools across the state, feel free to add as few or many as you like. And then lastly, this questions section is an opportunity for you to ask whatever pre-screening questions you'd like for all of the students who apply to this project. Think of this as a replacement for your phone screen, because it's far easier and faster for you to skim students' responses to these questions than it would be to pick up the phone and have a 10 or 15-minute conversation with them. Most companies don't do any sort of interviews prior to a micro-internship. Let this do the work for you so you can see the students' responses and be able to glean a lot of really great details about their level of interest and their background. Now, what you'll see are only those students who've applied to your project. So you'll be able to quickly see their resume, LinkedIn, etc., and those responses to the short answer questions so you can decide who is the best fit for your project. Now, if you want to reach out, great, feel free to do so if you'd like, but you certainly don't have to. And once the student has been selected, you and they receive each other's contact information, name, email, and so on, so that you can then set up a time to meet real time via Zoom, Teams, or whatever you want, go over the project, and the work gets done. We find that micro-internships generally require very little hand-holding, so you can correspond as much or little with the student as you'd like. In my experience managing micro-interns, I typically will have my kickoff call, maybe check in a few days later via email to make sure the student is on track, ask them to send me a sample of what they've done a few days in. And then again, typically via email, that's all we need to do in order to make sure we're staying on the same page. But every project is different. You can interface as much or little as you wish. Once the project has been completed, give them a little feedback on that particular project. It's real quick, less than 5 minutes assessment within the platform that helps both the student as well as Tiffany and her team to understand how the student performed and some opportunities for improvement if there are any. How does this help you? Well, it depends on your goals, but certainly you can deepen your relationship and connect with students like those at Knox to deepen the relationship, build those relationships as early as their freshman year and all the way through even after they've graduated. But it allows you to see these skills and work with them with a very low commitment for both you and they, so that hopefully this turns into something a great fit long-term. But if it doesn't, again, you're still getting that final product and that work deliverable, but you and the student, again, it didn't take you a ton of time to interact with each other. And of those companies who are using this at scale, we're able to see some really valuable insights about these students, the majors, their academic performance, etc. And so just to give you a quick snapshot, if you do decide, yeah, I'd like to learn more and do this at scale, way that this works is we sit down and have that conversation with you to understand your goals and then identify, and we will craft projects that align to whatever those goals might be. You pick the students that you want to work with, you get the fun part of working with them on these projects, and of course you get all of that data to be able to see and assess who's the best fit for those longer term opportunities. So I do want to highlight just a couple of quick case studies. So for example, Smith & Nephew is a medical device company that came to us saying, we still have open roles for our sales development rotational program. And so what we did with them is crafted a project, a micro-internship. It essentially was do research on one of our products, develop a sales pitch for that product, and deliver it via Zoom, Teams, whatever. They hired 12 students from a bunch of different schools, allowing them to reach students at schools they wouldn't have otherwise been or had on their radar. That A simple project led to 5 full-time hires, a reduction in costs per hire of over 70%. So significant rewards for a simple project, and for the students, it was like them getting paid to do an interview. So a really great value proposition for both you and the students. Other examples, we see companies who are trying to figure out how do they increase brand awareness. And so campus ambassadors can be a fabulous micro-internship for students at your target schools. So if Knox is one of your target institutions, hire a student to do that simple micro-internship around just building your brand. They'll table, they'll go to classes, maybe student organizations. We have some examples of what these students can do to make it really easy for you to get this particular project off the ground and with minimal lift. And again, really maximizing your brand awareness because of that peer-to-peer opportunity for students to tell their fellow students about your organization. And then lastly, we have companies who are using this to engage students as early as their freshman year on various projects. Companies like Xylem, they were school agnostic. They didn't care where the schools came from. They were using this as a funnel for their nationwide pool of summer interns that they hired across the country. And so they engaged students at 3,000 different students, covering over 800 schools. And it really was a great way to really expand the focus schools and the list of schools that maybe should be on their radar that they weren't currently engaging with. Now, these programs are very quick to get up and running. Most micro-internships are filled within 48 hours. So if you do have an immediate hiring need, you can look no further than posting your first micro-internship. We will share that with Tiffany and her team so that she can then share it with those students and get these students engaged. So we do have a bunch of other case studies, so you can look at this at your leisure. Every one of these are hyperlinked, so you can learn a little bit more, see some practical examples of what other companies did if that was one of their particular goals or pain points. But for you, just starting it's as simple as posting that first micro-internship. Again, happy to talk with you more about it, that free trial or the other paid pilot options, but certainly posting that first project is something that you can do within a matter of minutes. So with that, thank you so much for taking a few minutes of your day to join us. Tiffany, I'll pass it back to you if there's any final thoughts or questions that folks might, that we should cover today.
Thank you so much, Kristen, for sharing about this opportunity. Again, we are available for any questions that you might have, or also to talk through some of what our students are looking for or what our top kind of industry or major areas of focus on. So as Kristen said, we want to make sure that this is a good partnership for everyone involved. And so crafting those opportunities for students, and then also being in communication with myself and my team to promote that to students that would be good partners for that work. So it definitely is an ecosystem that we're building here, and also partnerships with you employers who are leading this work. So my contact information is in the chat. Always welcome for a conversation or to answer any questions. The career service team is always available as well here at Knox. So please just let us know. And again, Kristen, thank you so much for joining us today and letting us know next steps on how to get connected with Parker Dewey.
Thank you, Tiffany. Really appreciate the partnership, the support, and everyone who joined us live today. If you're listening to the recording, hope this is useful, and we look forward to seeing what projects you come up with. Thank you so much.
Thank you.